Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Barb Bacon, and I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. If I had my buttons on today, it would be let's get some gun control. I'm tired of looking at the news and seeing this. Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel. And let's have equal rights for everybody.
This is Jenny James Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms and Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Christian Cano, you're the co-host. My buttons are Moms and Men Action, gun sense legislation, healthcare for all, Medicare for all, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it.
Good morning, everybody. This is Coffee Pan Dulce time, and it is happy 2024. And
2024.
What a weird thing to say. And, I definitely wasn't ready for it, but we have people joining us in progress.
Yes.
And so we will have people coming on, and we'll introduce them as they log on. But This again is Coffee and Pan Dulce, and this is Christian, Jenny. We're supposed to have Mama Ruth and Barb Bacon join us.
Yeah.
And we have a new guest or co-host that I'll let you introduce, Christian, because you know this young lady and I don't.
I do. Not as well as I'd like to, but I do know her. And as Jenny said, welcome everyone to Coffee and Pan Dulce. Oh, I got to do it, Jen. Welcome everyone to Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? I've been practicing that. That's why I'm glad we do the shows in the morning, because my voice is so much deeper in the morning. By the end of the day, I'm like, hey, girl. It's so... Anyway, welcome everyone who's joining us on Coffee and Pan Dulce, those who join us on Facebook Live, and those who join us on YouTube, and the thousands who listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. All right, we got that all the way. As Jenny said, my goodness, it's 2024. This is the first taping. Shows you how old Jenny and I are, or we are, because we still say the word taping, even though technically we're not taping, we're recording. So we want to thank everyone who's joining us. This is the first taping or recording of 2024. We're very excited. We've got some new people that are going to be joining us today. We were supposed to have the return of Mama Ruth, so we'll see if that happens. Those who have followed our show for years, this is our 7th season. It's hard to believe we're starting 7 seasons. Mama Ruth is going to be joining us, and then also Barb Bacon. Now, I just got a message as we were talking, Jen. Barb did send another text. Those who know Barb Bacon, one of our co-hosts, Barb has the best luck. So we had some treacherous thunderstorms and rains and so for tornadoes in North Carolina, which is where Jenny and I are at, and most of us are at. And she had a tree fall. So she is dealing with that, and I don't know that she's going to join us now because she sent me a text and said, tree guy has not gotten here. So, all right. All of that said, where am I, Jen? We're going to introduce Alexa. So we'll see. All right, Alexa, I don't know if you're there with us. There we go. So Alexa, welcome to the show, and don't feel, I know this is your first time on the show. As you will tell, we're going to edit anything that we don't like. So Don't worry about it. Alexa, just briefly tell us where you're calling in from or joining us from.
So I'm, around the Boone area, so near the mountains. My name's Alexa, and I'm currently studying at the early college in Hudson.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, welcome. It's always good to have a new perspective. Our show, Coffee and Dulce, as Jenny said, so I'm going to try to do a lot of clarification here, because if you have never watched our show, which welcome to the show. This is our 7th season. We have been doing this show since 2018. We actually started this little show around this table that I'm actually sitting at, and we did it live one time. And we morphed into doing it visually, Zoom, I guess you would call. We started doing it Zoom-wise because we had to tape it when the pandemic started, which really opened us up to a lot more opportunities because we were able to get people from all around the country to join us who couldn't come here. And we've just continued. So this is actually our 282nd show. And so we're very excited about this. We're starting our 7th season. This is 2021. And we want to thank everyone who's joining us. Our targeted audience has always been the Latinx Hispanic community. However, many people, as Jenny and I kiki about, just love to talk about the fact that we use the term Latinx. And we're going to start this one off as we do every show. If you don't like the term Latinx, don't use it. Use whatever term is comfortable for you. Use Hispanic, Latino, Latina. We use the term Latinx because we have more than one gender that's always on the show, and we want to respect everyone's, everyone. And so we have been using this since we started this show. But if you watch the comments on social media, which Jenny can attest to, I'm going to let Jenny talk about this a little bit. Our biggest hair on fire that people who watch this show is the term Latinx. So Jenny, tell them a little bit about what's been happening for 5 years, 6 years? I don't know.
Well, we usually do Hispanic Heritage Month show in September, which usually starts around my birthday, September 15th through 16th. And when we do that, we usually like to talk about that month. We talk about the current, whatever the issues are going on or the debates are going on in the Hispanic and Latinx community. But what the people that give us feedback on Facebook usually aren't our typical viewer or listener.
Exactly.
They are people that are trolling Facebook to find a fight, or they're just upset. They're typically white. They're typically older. They're typically male. Yes. And they're really, really upset about the term Latinx. I'm like, dude, you're whiter than me. And and you're definitely not Latinx. You're definitely not Hispanic. What is it? I'm not Hispanic.
Yeah.
I use Latinx. I also use Hispanic. Mm-hmm. I use whatever the language is of the event that I'm at. Like if I'm at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in San Antonio, I'm going to use the term Hispanic because that's the language of the room. If they use Latinx or whatever is being used at that time, I'm going to use what is the dominant cultural reference at that time, just like I would do if I went to something that was involving the Chinese American community or whomever. I'm going to use their chosen terms. We use Latinx as one of the terms, but we're not pushing it on anybody.
Yeah,
if it's
we
very
always
bizarre.
Say use whatever. We did a whole show. With Rafael Brito out of Charlotte, North Carolina, who's a Spanish journalist who's been writing about things like this. And we asked him, and he was like, I just I pivot. If the New York Times is using Latinx, I use Latinx. If they're using Hispanic, it's like it's no big deal. But for some reason, that term. So. Alexa, I'm going to ask you, and you don't have to comment on this because I know this is your first time on the show. Please, if you ever don't want to comment, just say, I'd rather not comment. Do you have an issue with Latinx, or is that a term that your generation, and I say your generation, I'm assuming you're a lot younger than Jenny and I. Jenny and I are 19. And so, times 40.
Times 3.
Yeah, that's 3. So is that a big deal with your generation? I mean, the term Latinx?
I feel like for my generation, it just depends on each person. Me, personally, I don't really mind each term. It just depends on asking each person beforehand, what are you comfortable with? What do you prefer? But I don't really mind.
Well, that's good to hear, because the comments as Jenny's talking about, I know, and we've talked about this before, then we're going to go into our Barb's current events, because as Jenny knows, Jenny is on this show to keep me from talking.
Too much.
Too much.
I don't have that capability. That would be some like Avengers or Marvel comics level superhero skills to be able to keep you from talking. It's like herding cats.
That's right.
This show
just keep them.
We just kind of we fail forward.
Go in the direction. That's right. So I remember, and I was going to share this, that and if you've watched the show, you've heard this many times. I apologize. When growing up, my parents did not like the term Hispanic when it was coming out, like in the 80s, and they wanted to be called Chicanos or Tejanos. That was the term that the people in Texas used, and in California they used the term Chicano. And then when the term Hispanic was being used in the 80s and in the 90s and so forth, a lot of older Hispanics, I guess, didn't like the term. They felt like it was being pushed upon them, because Hispanic technically means if you derive from Spain, from a Spanish language type of individual, and they didn't like that term. And then it just became the younger, like my generation, the Gen Xers, just started using the term Hispanic, and then it just became acceptable. Well, this Latinx type of thing sounds very familiar, or feels very familiar to that era, where the people who are using Hispanics and Latinos don't like the term Latinx, and it's usually more older generational people. So, some people continue to like to use the term Latino, and I think I've used the word Hispanic. So anyway, all right. So it looks like Mama Ruth is sending the messages and saying she's having network problems in her neighborhood. So maybe she'll be joining us. So as we always do, and we're going to start 2024 very similar. Maybe it's going to change as we go through the year. I'm sure it will have to be if this show doesn't get a lot of viewers and listeners. We're going to go directly into Barb's current events.
And this is Barb's current events.
All right, here's Barb. 3 current events. So this is what we do, Alexa. We mentioned three current events that are current at the time, and if you want to comment on those in 30 seconds, you're welcome to. Otherwise, you don't have to. And then we'll go into our topic. And just in case you don't know what the topic is, because I'm having to look it up, today's topic is, are there still sane Republicans? So we'll be talking about that one very briefly. So 3 current events. If you watch the show, you know that we actually taped Jenny's show before this, so I steal almost all of her ideas. So I'm stealing Jenny's ideas. First current event. Dr. B's favorite congressperson, Dr. B's Dr. Baumfalk, who's a frequent guest of ours, a retired neurosurgeon. His favorite congressperson, Boebert, has switched districts. She's no longer running in the district that Dr. B goes to every summer to visit his family. She's now going to be running in a different district. That's the first current event. The second current event, and I don't like to laugh at people, but when there are people that are such mean people, I don't mind laughing at them. MTG was on a book tour. When you see this show, we tape it the weekend before, and there were very few people that attended her book show. As a matter of fact, the pictures that are coming out are like all these stack of books and one person, and she's outside like this signing the book. So I thought no one's buying her book. The last one is, and you're going to know I stole these 3 exactly from Jenny's show. The new talking point for the MAGAs, Trump and his MAGA group, they're now using the term hostages instead of for the January 6th insurrectionists, the people that have been put in prison, the people that openly admitted that they committed a crime and pleaded guilty. He's saying they're hostages. So if you want to comment on any of those, you're welcome to. And as usual, we'll start with you, Jenny. Since I stole these from you, you should know.
I should be able to get them back. Well, except for the MTG one. But I'll start with MTG. I would imagine somebody else wrote that book for her. I'm sure she had a ghostwriter. Just based on when I've heard her talk, there's no way. Well, maybe the book isn't incoherent. Babbling.
Maybe it's pictures.
Yeah. Maybe it's a picture book with like crayons and stuff like that. That would be fabulous. It could be why nobody's buying the book. But definitely, I don't think she's as popular as she thinks she is. And I think it's pretty funny. Outside of the political and activism world, most people don't even really know who MTG is.
Yeah, that's true.
And when you do see her, half the time she's acting like a raving lunatic. So what does she expect? Who's going to take their valuable time and hard-earned money to go buy a book that she personally signs?
Yeah.
That may be one of the first times that I advocate for book burning. But it may have some kind of value, like kindling for a fireplace or something.
Yeah.
But I can't even imagine reading that book and how mind-numbing it has to be. As far as Boebert, Boebert's moving to the 4th district, supposedly to protect the 3rd district from Hollywood elites. And so she claims that Hollywood elites are running against her and spending money in the 3rd district to keep her from winning. And so she's going to sacrifice the 4th district of Colorado, which is a very conservative ranching and farming communities. And the 3rd district that she actually lives in is more like Colorado Springs and Aspen. So it's more tourism and things of that nature. And first of all, she's not going to win the primary in the 4th district. There's like 4 or 5 other people. It's a very conservative. Her kookiness and the things she does in theaters and the crazy stuff she does and all that.
And she allegedly just got into a fight with her ex-husband. So it's punched him in the nose. Violence is bad.
She's like a character from the Jerry Springer Show or Dr. Phil, and they're not going to have it. These people are more like West Texas people, like in Lubbock or Amarillo, and very rural, very very remote part of Colorado. And then,
how about the hostage term?
First of all, how offensive that is in hostages. First of all, hostages and detainees or prisoners, because they're not synonyms. They're not interchangeable. Anybody with any kind of language skills above the 3rd grade kind of understands that. And a lot of politicians pushed back over the weekend when they were trying to make these January 6th insurrectionists sound like victims of circumstances. They didn't just accidentally show up and listen to Trump's speech and then go attack the Capitol. They printed shirts. They planned this for weeks. And they tried to break into the Capitol building. Yeah. I mean, literally on their T-shirts, it says "Stop the Steal." So their intentionality was from the beginning. Many of them,
and they pleaded guilty.
And because we got them on tape confessing. Yeah, the most of them before and after the act confessed to it. They're bragging about it. They didn't think they were going to get prosecuted, and I think they expected Donald Trump to pardon them, which he was still president at the time. He could have pardoned them. He didn't, because he doesn't care about anybody but himself. And he let them go to prison. And
that's a good point, Jenny.
There was there was 2 weeks between January 6th leaving office, and they have to list the people.
Yeah, and he pardoned people his last day. He could have done a blanket pardon and said that anyone who was involved in that could not be charged, but he didn't. So if they have anybody to be, that's a good point. Yeah,
he could have kind of, like all these people that were there that got a T-shirt and were part of the event. They knew their names. They just didn't. These weren't randoms. And I think the best part is that Donald Trump himself left them high and dry when he had the power of the pen, and he could have just said, "Hey, pardon for you, pardon for you." It could have been just like the Oprah show was: "You get a car, you get a car,
you get a car." No, that's an excellent point. Hey, listen, I'm going to let you jump in, Alexa, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. We can edit it out. But do you want to comment on any of those 3 current events, or do you have any comments on any of those 3 current events?
No, I don't think so.
Wise young lady. Excellent. Okay. Well, listen. So, as we do in the future, we try to have more timely current events. But admittedly, it took me a little bit longer to get back into the groove. We've been on a hiatus for like a month, and I have really just enjoyed chilling out. Being on holidays, I feel like European, being on holiday, right? Because we don't have such a thing here in the United States. We have a week's vacation or a long weekend, where the Europeans have like a month of holiday. So I felt like so European, as I was, anyway. So with that said, we're going to be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee and Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget, you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. We'll dance out.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching, and support our local Black and brown businesses, including our sponsor, Manolo Bakery. That has some fabulous pastries, food, king cakes, all kinds of specialty cakes, swallowing, and much, much more. Some of the best food we eat in Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, Manolo Bakery, right here in East Charlotte. Thanks for watching. Hey y'all, thanks for watching the Florida shows. They've been wildly successful. Obviously, it's a topic that you guys have enjoyed and wanted to know more of. And we like talking about the dumpster fire that used to be the state of Florida. And we'll probably talk about it some more this summer. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for watching.
Yes.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to Coffee and Pan Dulce. And so, Alexa, you're from a younger generation than I am. Won't speak for Jenny because I never like to share a lady's age, but you're from a younger generation than I am. I'm a Gen Xer, and Jenny, well, I'm not gonna say, but I think Jenny and I are both Gen Xers, and we're both from Texas, so we have a lot of commonalities. And actually, Mama Ruth is actually from Texas as well, but we all live in North Carolina now. And I believe she's a Gen Xer. I don't want to say a lady's age. And Barb, who's another co-host of ours, she is not a Gen Xer. And so we often don't have younger generations. And I'm going to guess that you're probably a millennial or a Z, right? Or is that what do you consider? Do you consider yourself to be Gen Z? Okay, so what do we call them on here? Or what do you call them, Jenny?
I call them baby Z's.
The baby Z's? Baby Z's. Okay, so we call them baby Z's. So I apologize. So one of the things that we have been discussing for the last 7 seasons since 2018 is the complete difference on what is important to every generation. And it's always been that way. It's not anything unique. Jenny and I remember our parents talking about things that they were outraged by. I don't know, what is the hair or the bands or whatever the case may be. And boomers, their parents were outraged about, the 70s music and all kinds of stuff. So with your generation, it seems to be, there are things that obviously aren't big issues for your generation, whereas for some reason for our generation it still is. And so, our topic is: are there still sane Republicans? And I know I'm going to get some pushback from Jenny already, so let's just go ahead and start off the thing. When I was growing up, there were what I would call Republicans, or they call them conservatives or Republicans. They're not always the same. That were more moderate, that were more. You could talk to them about a certain issue, and it wasn't really social issues. There were some, but they seemed to be not the party of the crazy people. And it seems to be now, since during the Trump era, during the MAGA era, that the Republican Party has turned into the party of MTGs, the party of Matt Gaetz, the party of Boebert, the party of Trump. And they see the crazy QAnon people. And they didn't used to be, they were like the fringes. Now it seems like that is the party. Am I saying that right, Jenny? I mean, do you feel that way now with the Republican Party?
Well, I mean, I think there's been a lot of shifts. I mean, one, technology. There was a world before the Twitter and the Google machine and all that. When we were growing up, all this kind of technology couldn't have happened. We couldn't have shot a show ourselves. There wasn't no such thing as podcasts. So this didn't even exist in any form or fashion. And so now you don't have to really qualify to make a podcast. You don't have to. There isn't a screening process to be basically like a journalist of our day. And you can, there's people on YouTube that do everything from gaming to conspiracy theories to talking about, brand new military planes to Star Trek, whatever. I mean, you can make a YouTube channel about anything. And amazingly, the more it's about something kooky, probably the more views it's going to get, because it's just fun to watch other people do things, and that's, same way with TikTok and all that. And so I think, and I'll ask Alexa this, the baby Z's have grown up with technology. That's the world they know. They've had the internet, they've had the Google machine, and now the social media for the majority, or if not all, their life. And I think it exposes people. I mean, when you get up on, if you do a podcast, and we've been doing this podcast for 7 seasons, the 2 Queers in a Truck for about 4 seasons, which is the other show. We've done probably close to 400, 500 episodes, somewhere in there. You can expose yourself for who you are. The longer you talk, the more you talk. And I think, one, back in our day, the cuckoo for Cocoa Puff conspiracy theory conservatives, there wasn't enough bandwidth out there.
Sure.
And journalists were more responsible. They wouldn't interview the nuts. They're like, we've got a limited amount of airtime. We can't put that on the air. Sure. And so there was a lot of editing. Now, because you can self-publish and self-broadcast, any old idiot can write a book. MTG just did that, proved that. Any old idiot can have a YouTube show. So there is more opportunity, and you can just do social media. You can talk about whatever on your social media, as long as it meets the terms and conditions of that social media company. Like, Instagram doesn't like nudity and things of that nature. Twitter doesn't really care. So Alexa, in your generation, or at least in your opinion, what do you think about older adults and the way they act? And
be nice.
No, because
I'm telling her, be nice.
because well, here's the thing. So Alexa's, probably close to the age of my youngest child, which is she's now 23, and so they're of the same generation. My youngest child was born in 2000, and she's Generation Z as well. And she just kind of shakes her head and just like, you guys are nuts. You guys are debating things that are crazy while the world is burning, literally.
Yeah.
And so what do you think are the most important things of your generation? And what do you think about Gen Xers debating,
or what we talk about,
subjects? what we talk about, you know?
Yeah.
What is your conversations like when you're talking to people of your generation and maybe you go to school with?
Probably just like worldwide issues, I would say, that I've seen on like online. There's a lot of talk on that recently, like and just like going on here in the United States as well, you know, like, education, you know, how expensive it's gotten and how accessible it's gotten as well. I've heard talk about the FAFSA too, and you know, medically as well, like how universal is healthcare for everyone. You know, issues like that like affect us on a daily basis.
Sure.
You know, stuff like that.
So that's very interesting you say that, because and I know you probably don't watch our show, because I had to introduce you to our show, but shows like us, does your generation, when y'all watch, or if y'all ever hear about a show like ours or whatever, and the topics, you know, that we talk about, do y'all think that's like the older, I don't know, I mean, curious what you, because we don't have a lot of younger demographic viewers, which is why you're on. We don't have a lot of younger demographics. Our demographics, the people that watch us, are usually 40 and above, really 50 and above. And our highest platform right now is Facebook. The people that watch us, and then on the audio platforms, you can tell that it matches our visual platforms. It's 50 and above. You know, and as they get higher, the longer they listen to our show. So the younger people are, and Jenny's kind of connected more with the younger people. The younger people are you know, they're just watching different things. And when y'all see things like what we're talking about, do y'all just think those are issues that are, I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I mean, do your friends, what are they, do they think those are old people issues, or I don't know how to phrase that, or it's not relevant? I'm curious.
Could you give like examples of the subjects?
Yeah. So for an example, today's topic is, are there still sane Republicans? Is that something that you would even think about, or that your generation is talking about? You know,
I feel like, you know, all in between me and my friends, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe briefly touch on the subject about that, but not really like something, you know, I would do deeply.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel that when we were at the George Floyd protests in 2020, and it was dominated by lots of young people, lots of very, very young people, I feel like social justice and environmental justice and things of that nature or resonate more with Generation Z, because they're now becoming adults, and they are facing tremendously high tuition bills for college. They're facing tremendous high costs for housing. They are facing, you know, the fact that we're having record temperatures, and the earth is literally on fire. We watched Australia burn a couple years ago, and the whole continent literally felt like it was burning down. And so that's the world that they're coming into. This is when they're hitting adulthood, and they're going, God, this is the world we got left by our parents and grandparents. And I feel terrible. I feel terrible that in our lifetimes, and I'm talking about Generation X, we failed the millennials and Generation Z, that my children are not going to grow up in a world or a country that's anything like what I grew up in, from a justice standpoint and all that. And I hate that we put that burden on that next generation. I hate that we've failed so many people, so many millions of young Americans. And I wouldn't blame them for being resentful. I wouldn't blame them for hating what we left as our legacy.
Sure.
And I question the sanity of my own generation.
Sure.
Whether they're Republican or Democrat, because we're over here debating about whether trans kids should play, sixth grade soccer while we watch California burn.
Yeah.
While we watch.
Yeah, we're exactly. And Jenny, you talked about on your show, and we've talked about on this show, that there's a group of people in this country, and they tend to be more MAGA, Bible bigot type of individuals, and they're so obsessed with, like, one trans kid in the state of North Carolina, out of millions of kids, and they're not talking about, issues that, if they really want to protect kids, we have many ways to protect kids. You and I have talked about protecting kids,
And look at, you're going to college right now, Alexa, and in college, when back in the day in Texas, you could get 12 hours worth of classes for about $280. Total. $280 for a semester of classes for 12 hours at Texas Tech University. That's unfathomable.
Yeah,
it was subsidized to the point to where it was essentially free, and it was
like an extension of high school.
Yeah, nobody took out student loans then. Student loans were really rare, and it was usually to pay for maybe some books and some housing. But I didn't know anybody that graduated from my high school that went on to college that took out student loans, because you didn't need to.
Yeah.
You could work a 20-hour-a-week job.
And have enough money to go to the pub and have a beer. I mean, I never drank. Yeah, that's right. I have a root beer. So,
but what is the discussion? Because we've noticed that, that Republicans seem resistant on student loan forgiveness. But what is the discussion among your peers when y'all are facing these tuition bills, and how does that affect deciding whether you're going to go to college or not?
I feel like for me, like, I'm still not actually in university. I'm at my last year in high school. But thankfully, that I'm at, I can take dual, courses in college.
Oh, okay.
My associate's degree. So by the time I go to college or university, I can apply that there, and then I just have to take like 2 years. So that's the plan.
Smart.
But yeah, I feel like now is kind of a hard choice deciding on whether to not go to college and whether it's worth it, and whether your degree is worth it. People are like, well, can I take, cheaper courses here and like obtain the same degree? Or, like, you have to be on top of like the finances, especially with like scholars. They're like, you have to find a lot for them to add up on like, tuition costs, so it can cover it, so it can be accessible for you. So, yeah.
Smart. Very smart.
And it's sad that, especially state universities, we're already paying for it with our tax dollars anyway.
Yep.
But still cost. I don't know what North Carolina is. I can tell you what Missouri was a few years ago when my middle child was attending, and it was like tuition was like, I want to say close to $4,000, $5,000 a semester, and this was like 2016, 2017, 2018, he ended up dropping out of college because he got a job with the cruise line, and then eventually went into driving ships that do like big cargo ships, like ship cars and car parts and oil and whatever. And so, and I know a lot of his friends dropped out of school to go in different careers that either didn't need a college degree or were electricians, and they couldn't go
they went into a trade or something.
And how much of a discussion is that with your generation, Alexa? How many people are choosing to go into trades or cosmetology or something that doesn't require a 4-year degree?
I feel like a lot of people, have been looking into alternatives to university, grade school, or short-term programs that don't require as much time and money too. So, yeah.
That's an excellent question, Jenny.
And I think there was a lot of computer coding boot camps where they teach you how to go coding, where you don't have to go and take all the things that are required on a university level, which is like you got to take a PE, political science and all that. Well, if you're just wanting to program and write software for a living,
do you actually need the psychology class if you just want to be we want you well-rounded. Hey, listen, we're up against our second break. It's going to be a very short break, and then our second segment is going to be very short as well. So we will be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this. Hi, I'm Christian Cano. Thank you so much for joining us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. And also thank you so much for watching us on Facebook and on YouTube. But also don't forget, you can actually listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform like Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, and others. Once again, thank you for so much for watching us and listening to us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. Have a great day. Welcome back, everyone, to Coffee and Pan Dulce. Interesting. So here's the good news, and I know Jenny and I have talked about this and on our shows plenty of times. And this year is going to be a very interesting year. I'm trying to say that politely. 2024. It's going to be very similar to our shows that we did in 2020. 2020 was a very challenging year for us to do shows because it was a major election year. All kinds of chicanery and buffoonery. What's the term you use? And
I use all those.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay. All kinds of stuff was going on in 2020. Well, this year is going to be very similar to that and what's been going on, and trying to make sense of a lot of the craziness, that we're going to be hearing from people who are running for office. But one of the great things that we're seeing, and Jenny has highlighted this, is that the Baby Z's are one of the first generations in a long time that are actually outvoting the people that are above them. So for many, many years, from the greatest generation, they would say about the boomers, we really need to attract the boomers, but then the boomers never voted at very high percentages. The boomers said that about my generation, the Gen Xers. We need to appeal to them, but we just weren't voting at high percentages until we got to 40 and 50 years old. Traditionally, that's when people really start paying attention to every single election as they get older, because they're coming towards the end of their life, and there's a lot of things that are a lot different. The millennials were very instrumental in electing Obama, but then they branched off. Right after Obama got elected, they kind of branched off. The Baby Z's, what we're seeing are the Z's, the Z generation. They're voting at high percentages, and they haven't dropped off, which is why 2020, 2022, those years in the states that they came out, especially women in those age groups, are voting higher percentages. So the good news is that they have the ability to change things very, very quickly, just if they continue to vote at the percentages that they are voting. I would like them to vote at higher percentages, because if they vote at higher percentages, they cancel out the crazy people in my generation, the Bible bigots. And so, in a way that is, to me, that's very good news that your generation, Alexa, and we actually did a show, Will Your Generation Save America? And I think they will, and I hope they will. So if your generation continues to vote at higher percentages the way you are now and not dropping off, you actually have the ability to change things very quickly, whether it's climate change, whether it's health, whether it's Medicare, healthcare, all of I personally believe, as Jenny said, we're paying taxes for these public universities. If you're in a state that has a public university, every state, your children should be able to go to state colleges for free up until 16, which means K through 16, up until your sophomore year of college. Or if you want to go to a trade school, you should be able to go to it free. The last 2 years, we have to start thinking about it. But the first 16 years should be completely free. So you shouldn't have to be thinking about, do I need to go to this school or this school? If it's a state school, you should be able to go for free. So, but your generation, if you voted in North Carolina at high percentages, we could make that happen in 4 years by simply turning the state legislature, and turning those. So I don't know. Do you feel the same way, Jenny? And then we'll get to Alexa. Do you think that they're? What's your thoughts?
We saw young voter turnout in Ohio, for example, last year.
Yes.
When abortion was on the ballot, and overwhelmingly, in fact, many of the college students that were in the different Ohio universities, some of the campuses had a 99% turnout rate, because they want to protect and preserve their ability to decide for themselves,
Sure.
on body autonomy and things of that nature. I find that we're forcing some issues onto the younger generation that they shouldn't have to face, because I don't think abortion should be debatable. But I think it's almost like the Generation Z is going to have to grow up faster than what we were allowed to do. We were protected by the older generations. And again, I don't know what the debate is amongst Generation Z, or even what platforms they predominantly use. Mm-hmm. Just on a personal note, Alexa, do you participate in social media? Are you a social media type person? If you do use social media, what do you prefer to use, if any?
I feel like for most people my age, TikTok. I don't participate in like any online, personal posts or anything.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Just watching TikTok.
Smart.
Instagram's also. And I would say those two are big right now.
So I have a question, because I know Alexa's mother, who's a wonderful woman. So I'm curious. I don't know your mother well enough to ask her this question, but is the reason that you don't participate, like posting actively on social media, is just because you don't want to, or because your parents don't want you to?
It's because I don't want to. I'm not really
Okay. I'm impressed. That's because that means that's going to be lasting. When people say, "Well, I don't do it because my mom, or mom or dad didn't like it," usually it's like, "Okay, but whenever I can, I'm going to do it." So you're doing it just because you just don't want to.
Yeah, just like out there is. I just prefer to keep myself a little private, So.
Oh, God! I wish we could. This is good. So I'm impressed. So, I don't know, Jenny, you want to say something to that?
Well, I think that there's a lot of people that don't participate in social media.
Sure.
And for good reason. I know among my friends, I know there's a lot of friends that they may have a Facebook or an Instagram or a TikTok account, but maybe haven't even logged into it for weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
But not everybody lives and dies with what happens on Twitter.
Yes.
And I think when we're caught up in the political world, and I'm very politically active, and I know you are, Christian, outside of the show as well. And so where we're getting our news and where we're interacting with the political world is social media. So we use it as a tool. So obviously when you log on, you see all the, like on TikTok, when you log on, you get this feed of different TikTok videos. You know, we're going to lean towards ones that are more by activists and things of that nature. And whereas somebody like Alexa probably, maybe there's something she thinks is funny, maybe there's something that she thinks is entertaining. There is a lot of really funny videos on the TikTok. There's some wildly talented people out there. And honestly, I don't know how they do it, but some of it's pretty magical. But there's, you know, similar with Instagram. There's some very entertaining reels on there. They go, that's pretty funny. That's pretty clever.
Hey, sorry to interrupt you, but we're up against our last break. We only have about 8 minutes left before we have to close the show out. So if you like what you're hearing from Jenny, she does have a show that comes on 30 minutes after this every Wednesday at 11:30. It is called Two Queers in a Truck. We taped her first show of the season this morning, so I know what it's on. I still have her stuff, which is why we tape it for this one, so I don't have to do as much homework as she does. And so this last commercial is about her show. We'll be right back after this.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Bye. Hey guys, I've got a special product out, and we've got a store under the name blueappliedtech.com. And you can go on our Etsy store, you can go on our social media, and you can check out our merchandise. We have some amazing snowflake Trump mugshot ornaments. We have mugs, we have pillow covers. We have a lot of cute stuff for the holiday season that you can buy. And it's great fun, and it goes to a good cause. It goes to my company, and it's helping us out getting started. And also, who doesn't want a historic snowflake Trump ornament?
Exactly.
This year.
That's funny. What's the name of it again?
And the name of the company is Blue, like the color blue, applied APPLIED Tech, like technology.
Blue Applied Tech. Ah, cool.
And so you can look us up. We have a website, but our stores on Etsy, and a lot of people use Etsy for different types of great gifts. They are assembled in the United States, so it creates American jobs. And most of all, it's a lot of fun, and they're not expensive.
Cool.
So,
Blue Applied Tech. Got it.
Correct. Come seek us out and buy some gifts.
Cool. Well, welcome back, and don't forget to join Jenny's show. She is back, and Two Queers in a Truck comes on after this show on all of your social media platforms. So real quickly, before we jump into our Pendejo Chronicles, so exactly what you said, Alexa, and Jenny and I have noticed this. If you look at, and this is not scientific, this is anecdotal, as Barbara taught me to say, anecdotally, it's not scientific. And I've noticed this a lot, that the people that are like I call the trolls, the people that are so obsessed with what happens with social media, they tend to be between 40 and 60. And they seem to be people who didn't grow up with social media. They learned, they like my generation, they just kind of got into it because their granddaughter or their daughter was on it. So they wanted to see what their old high school friend was doing. And they take social media very differently than the millennials and the baby Zs. The millennials and baby Zs, seems to me, because they grew up with it, they have the ability to go, that's just, I don't take it seriously. The people that are 40 and above, when they see something like, how dare you, you have offended me, and they get very, very personal and serious about it, and so they seem to be the people that get so triggered very quickly on social media. And so Jenny and I are very engaged in what we do, and we use social media as a tool because we know they get triggered, And because we know demographically they get triggered, a lot of our titles have been clickbait over the last 2 years. So we know when we say, are there sane Republicans? We have a lot of Republicans that watch our show that will go, well, how dare you ask me the question? And they will watch it. And we know that triggers them. And it will tell us that this is one of the reasons that they watch us, you know? And so I do, and that's one of the reasons your generation doesn't necessarily watch a show like ours, because they're like, you know, that's not an issue for me.
And quite frankly, I've watched enough reels and I've watched enough TikToks. Our show probably isn't as entertaining as what they watch.
We try to be.
Our show is pretty bootleg. We do have a lot of viewers. But we know our core audience. But it is great to see a perspective from a Generation Z that I found has been a very thoughtful, very worldly generation. I think technology has benefited them, and I think they use technology actually more responsible than older people do it. Because they grew up with it, they're familiar with it. It's a world they've always known. I mean, smartphones came out 2007.
Jenny, that's why when I hear like you know, you and I hear this a lot. When I hear from people who tend to be more conservative and more Bible bigot and more MAGA-ish, when I hear them say, oh, the younger generation and the social media is going to be the death of them, and this, they're projecting. Younger generations can deal with it. It's they're the ones that don't have the ability to deal with it. And so when I hear them say that, I'm like, that's the same stuff my parents used to say. Oh, you can't, AC/DC, you shouldn't listen to them because their music is devil music, you know, or what? I didn't listen to AC/DC, by the way. I didn't, but you know what I mean. And so or, you know, why would you listen to Taylor Swift? She's she's too woke. She's this, you know what, people who listen to Taylor Swift, they listen to Taylor Swift because they like listening to Taylor Swift, not necessarily because they think she's, so anyway, it's like every generation before always rags on the generation, because the only other option is to say, I'm so disconnected with the world that I have to blame the younger people, you know, because I don't know what's going on. So anyway. All right, so we're going to jump directly into the Pendejo Chronicles. This is the first Pendejo Chronicles of the 7th season. And this is the Pendejo Chronicles. All right, here we go. We have a person that has been posted on one of our social media sites. I won't say the person's name. The person is obsessed with the show. It's not the Lutheran pastor that used to follow us. This is a different person. This person says on one of our big shows that they were from Mexico. They moved to the United States in the 70s, and since then, this person has been a diehard Republican and diehard American and loves Trump. So, everything comes to my mind. This person has gotten a lot of backlash from the people who have been watching this posting, and basically saying, and I've been kikiing, saying, well, then I guess you better tell Trump that you're not poisoning, you're not poisoning the blood of America. I guess you better tell Trump that your family is not racist drug dealers or, rapist drug dealers or whatever. This person still has been posting stuff for 2 months. It's still defending Trump, knowing that Trump is saying people who come from Mexico are, poisoning this. I don't know how you can. So to me, that is the pendejo of the week, because I don't know how you can say you like someone when the person is telling you to your face, things. So I just have to name that person pendejo of the week, because I don't understand. Jenny, you want to comment before we close it?
I'll save you here.
Yeah.
I do see why Alexa doesn't get on Facebook and other social medias and doesn't post, because I would stay pretty private too. I think it's a very good course of action. Because there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of all ages. Now, there's young jackasses on these social medias as well. Yeah, the more you can avoid that, the better you probably are off. Social media is not real life. No. And some of these people need therapy, very clearly. They need a professional to talk to. And I'm not making fun of therapy. I go to psychological therapy myself. I'm a big fan of therapy and talking out problems and understanding yourself. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. Some of these people, like this poster, and I've seen him post several things on our Facebook social media sites, our show sites, and I'm like, do you have somebody that supervises you and you just sneak off and get onto the Facebook or like he seems like he needs like a handler or somebody to keep him safe. I'm actually
at the same time safety. At the same time, I want to thank this person for continuing supporting and watching our show, because every time that person posts, and it increases us in the algorithms and people see us more. That particular show's had like 50,000 actually viewers. So we want to thank him. Alexa, do you have any comments on that one, or should we end the show?
No, I don't have anything to say.
All right. Smart. All right. Listen, it's been wonderful having you on. We do hope you come back, because we do need your perspective. All of our topics aren't they might be in 2024, because, it's going to be a crazy year. As we do always in our shows, and we end, we're going to go around the Brady Bunch screen. And if you're listening to this show, as Jenny always says, you never see MAGA, Felon, Baby Trump, Pinata, or St. Bernie, because they don't talk. They're just up there on the screen. But we're going to go around the Brady Bunch screen. Tell us where you're going to be after this drops. So we'll start with you, Jenny.
Well, we've started up in this time of the year. I participate with Charlotte Pride's Film Festival. So by the time this show drops, I will have already gone to my first screening meeting, probably via Zoom. And we in May, we have this event every year where we display short films from creatives all over the world. And we also have feature films as well. And they're all LGBT themed, where the producer or the director was LGBT, and it has some thematic deal with the community. And so it's fun. It's something I've done since 2019.
Hard to believe it's that time.
It's already cranked up again, and it takes us about 3 or 4 months to go through usually about 150 to 160 short films. Wow. It's a lot of work. But it's kind of fun. I get to see all these little short films for free, and I watch them on my iPad. And there's some really amazing talent out there in the independent film world. And a lot of these short films are really. I think that's why people like the TikTok and they like Instagram Reels, is the people's creativity. And it's the same way I find with these short films. Some are better than others. Some don't make it into the film festival because they just aren't that good. But some are amazing. Some I would love to see turned into an actual feature film.
Excellent. And Alexa, do you have any announcements or anything for the next week after this drops?
Not really. I'm just gonna start school. So that's it.
Wonderful. Well, listen, thank you so much for being with us. And we want to thank everyone who's watched us for all of our seasons. And this is our 7th season. We do have, a couple more months for our winter shows. We have a lot of topics. A lot of them are obviously going to be a little clickbaitish. And so we do hope you, come back and watch and listen to us. We also want to thank Mama Ruth for almost joining us. She was not able to join us. She's having network problems. We had some pretty big thunderstorms that went through North Carolina last night, the night before we're taping this. And people in North Carolina can't handle the storm. You would think it was Armageddon. It's like, oh my God, it's raining. Oh my God. Now, granted, those of us who come from Texas, Wind, as Jenny says all the time, she's from Amarillo area. Wind, nothing. Tornado, as long as you don't see the cows flying around, you're good. It's okay. You're good. And so here people panic. I understand they panic about trees because we have a lot of trees, and that's my fear, is a tree falling. So we do want to thank Mama Ruth. She'll be joining us next week. Also, Barb Bacon had a tree issue. Tony Foreman, we hope to see you. He's one of our original founders of this show as well. And then Rafael Preto, we hope to get him on here soon. So we want to thank everyone for joining us, and we will dance out, and we'll be back next week on Coffee and Pan Dulce. So, there we go. Looks like I got a little music. All right. Bye, y'all.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching. And as always, the show would be nothing without you. And happy 2024. We made it.
Wow.
We survived 2023. But thanks
incredible.
for watching or listening as always. And we'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Sounds
You
great.
sounded like a telenova. I mean,
I'm trying this. All I have to say is go. Yes.
as a non-Spanish speaker.
All right, start that one. Give me 1 second. That one. That one. That one. Okay. Here we go. So Ruth says she is not having network problems in the neighborhood, and Barbara is definitely not joining us. So we are carrying the show. And we will. So, Alexa, if you don't feel comfortable talking, you don't have to. We'd like to hear your views if you have some. Otherwise, Jenny might can carry the show. We have no problem talking. So the only reason, but we have to have a hard stop because Jenny has to get out of here at a certain time. So, all right, we're going to come back. Everybody ready? All right, here we go. So one of the benefits of having a lot of people on, like Mama Ruth and Barbara, is Jenny and I don't have to carry the show all the time because then we run out of. So here we go. We're coming back. All right. But you're doing very well, Alexa. All right, here we go. Coming back. All right. We're going to finish up in about 6 minutes, y'all. Here we go. All right.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.